Hey guys, we'll give people a couple minutes to join us and then we'll get started. Hello everyone. We're gonna give people a couple more minutes to join us and then we'll get started. Hi Nat.
Hi, Danny. Thank you for the webinar.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. Oh, there's Carissa. Hey Carissa.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I think we have a pretty good number of people to get this started. Just curious, where are people joining from? If you could drop in the chat where you're joining from, city, country. Okay, NYC, London, Ontario, Jersey. Oh, there's Suyan.
Hey there.
Hello. Yeah, we're just sharing. Oh, hi, Shawty. We're sharing where you're from in the chat. So yeah, if you guys could just give me an idea where you're joining from, city and country. Nice. Okay. We got one from Germany, from SF. Okay, I think that's all we got from the sharing. Um, and the next thing is that I'm curious, before we get started, I'm just curious to also get a sense of your experience level in UX field. So if you're, if you could just put in like the number of years you've been in the field, that would be also helpful so I could tailor this presentation a bit. 4, 5, 10, okay. 3 as UX researcher, okay. Okay, seems like most people have some like mid to senior level experience. Okay, cool. We'll get started. You guys can see my screen? Thumbs up if you can. Yes. Sweet. I'm going. Oh, there is somebody else joining. Thank you for joining, and I'm going to just start with this. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Danny Setiawan. I run this group, the UX support group. There's basically a meetup group based in New York. Started out as just a place and time for people to complain about how we're not understood by the business. And then it turned to be something else, right? It turned to be like people actually want to connect and learn from one another. Who knew? So my background a little bit, I've been in this UX field for a little while, before it was called UX. Came from graphic design background. I'm guessing some of you could relate with that. Graphic design became web design became this UX thing. Uh, and I work from like I've been working in different types of companies, from like agencies to in-house product team to coaching startups and also teaching UX at like boot camps. And that's the kind of thing that I'm actually very passionate about, which is why this whole UX group is becoming something really interesting that allow us to learn from one another and empowering. That's why we're doing this. And the reason why we're doing this event and also many other things that if you've been part of the UX support group, you'll see like I've been flooding the group with bunch of workshop, bunch of event for AI, because as I'm sure you guys are aware of, and that's why you're here, this is like the next industrial revolution with AI. It's not just some things are changing, a lot of things are changing, and we need to actually adapt. And my mission for this year is actually to not just get this group, the people in this group, to survive this change, but hopefully positioning us to dominate, right? Because the rules are being written again, and I want us to be actively participating in that act of rewriting these rules. And the big part of this is that for those of you, I know that, Suyan was part of my workshop before, it's mind blowing to see that we could build something really fast and really, really easily without like knowing how to code. And because of that, then we will start seeing, and probably that started, people doing this thing called vibe coding. So basically building and deploying products, real digital products, without knowing how to code, without developers at all. And because of that, then we will end up with a bunch of garbage in the market. The things that people don't use, people don't really care about, and don't care about the users. And that's actually a good thing, because that means that they need people like us to actually give the business an insights on how to build projects and not just products that actually, you know, provide value that people want to use, that people will come back to use, right? This is why I feel like this is a massive opportunity for us. Now, what we'll cover today, the agenda. By the end of this, I'm hoping that you'll be able to identify at least 3 activities in the workflow, in your current workflow, that can immediately be accelerated with AI, right? Not replaced, but accelerated. Understand which UX tasks benefit the most from AI assistance, and take an actual tangible step towards integrating it into your team's workflow or your personal workflow. And the agenda is that I'll share my personal experience of this and before and after kind of thing. And this, just so you know, I'm gonna preface this. The data is based on my own experience and the experience of people who have gone through some of my workshops, and they're reporting back like how much productivity gains that they've seen. So you'll see that. And then after that, we'll talk about what does that mean in terms of building future-ready design teams. And after that, we'll have a little demo of a UX audit agent that I built to give you a little preview of what that could be like. And then we'll do a QA and next steps. So this is the big picture, productivity gains across the design thinking process. One note here, I'm being careful to use the word productivity gains as opposed to efficiency or like time saved, because there's a lot of fear right now in the tech industry, but also in UX field, that we're going to be replaced by AI, right? That a lot of people think that, oh, the things that used to take, that we can save time and save money, so we can save the cost by letting people go, by having less people. But actually, I want us to frame this as a productivity gain, meaning that we can do more with the same, and then we maintain the same quality and actually produce more value for the company. So this is something that for a lot of you, I'm sure, is very familiar: empathize, define, ideate, design, prototype, test, which is the design thinking framework, right? So we use this to ground us so that the AI won't basically run us over. And from here, you can see that this is the number that I mentioned earlier that's based off of my personal experience, what I'm seeing as the gain, and also from what I heard from people who have gone through my workshops. So the way to read this is that, like, for example, survey 300% gains. This means that if we're doing it the old way, let's say we could do 1 unit of that activity done in a week. Now in a week, we could do 3 more. So we could do 4 in total. And you can see that the numbers seem crazy, but that's because the workflow is changing. And we'll go into that in details, uh, activity by activity, so that we could like actually see the comparison. And the reason why I'm doing this also is so that you can start developing the ability to navigate this and identify which part of the process that could be accelerated with this AI tools and which part that you need to actually retain so that you don't lose the control. So the key metrics here is that overall 3x increase, like 300% in the output, right? The ability to create things. That's how much faster these different tools can help us. And with that, we also maintain the quality. If we know how to implement it, we know how to be careful in not allowing the AI to run us over, we can actually maintain the quality. And because of that, then it allows us to shift the focus from the routine work, the production work, to strategic thinking. So the way I think about this, I was just thinking about like a metaphor the other day. It's very similar to how now if you wanted to like furnish your home, you don't need to actually cut the lumber and sand the stuff, right? Like you just go to IKEA or Pottery Barn, you get the furniture, you still put them together, but you don't need to do a lot of the prep work to get there. Only the assembly, and then most likely also after that, you have the bandwidth to actually decorate your place more. So it's gonna be very similar to that. Now we're zooming into like the different activity along those things. So I'm going to go pretty fast just to give you guys an idea and highlight the different kind of things that AI could help us, could optimize for us. Survey creation and analysis, right? So AI is very good at coming up with ideas, generating ideas based on the patterns that it's learned. So this is where it could actually really shine. So for example, you're surveying people and then you can just give the AI an idea. This is the persona, these are the research questions, give me some questions, right? And based on that, it can actually draft the survey for you. And also the other part of that is analyzing the result. Now, in this case, actually using AI tool can benefit us in 2 more ways than just accelerating the process. Because once we've given the AI the data, it can analyze us and answer the research questions, which is like what's the basic study should give us. But potentially, you could also chat with the data, if you will, ask the AI to see other patterns, ask more questions, like model it differently. These are things that normally in the old days would require a data scientist or at least a data analyst to do. And you can actually visualize it. You can engage your stakeholder better that way too. So it's actually increasing the quality and allowing us to do even more. And by the way, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop it in the chat so that I could see that and address that later. So these are the different tools that we could use, and you'll see that a lot of times you'll see Claude mentioned or ChatGPT, because the pattern that I'm seeing is that we have some kind of personal assistant, the main person, if you will, the main assistant, right? The main AI. And then from there, you use specialized tools for the different purposes. And for me, Claude has been the best one for the general purposes. And that's why you'll see that. User interview synthesis, again, like the initial part of planning, preparing the script, and all those things are the things that AI are really good at. And you can actually accelerate quite fast that way. But conducting the interview is something that I would not let AI do for two reasons. One, because it may just give the participant a bad taste and it could actually destroy your brand, right? Because they don't feel uh, valued. And number two, like the technical limitation of like the follow-up questions, especially for user interviews when the interview could go in so many different directions. This may not be a good place for it because empathy is very important in that part. That said, though, potentially if this is a very specific scope, an isolated scope, a smaller scope, you could potentially leverage AI, but make sure that if you do that, you notify the participants. And the benefit for that potentially is that the participant could be even more uh, vocal, right? Because they don't think that they would hurt your feelings. But anyway, so that's one thing. And this is, you can see this is something that we could benefit. But the biggest gain here, potentially in productivity, is analyzing the observations. So I remember back in the day, affinity mapping with the post-its, that's just so painful. And it takes so much time, like so many days to just like organize them and then organize them again. With this, you could just take a picture, have it organized in so many different ways, so quickly. And then you could create the report also much faster that way. Market research, market and competitor research. This is another one that AI can really, really help, especially with Perplexity, Grok, and these things. And now Gemini has like the deep search. They say that it's like PhD level. I don't know how true that is, but it's pretty deep. You could get like something that's very robust based on data using these different tools. Like for the course that I'm designing, I wanted to back it up with data, my claims. And within like an hour, I got these different tools to provide data, and I'm just make them like validate each other's data. And I got something that I could claim based on data, right? And then competitors also, looking at what competitors are doing. This is a game changer. User journey mapping. This is something that is also could be benefited from in a similar way because a lot of data uh, can help us with this. And in terms of the gain here, mostly it's in the gain of generating the framework itself. Like a lot of data, how do we make sense of it? This can actually really help. UX audit, this is something that is very easily could be like assisted by AI. And this is the demo that I'm going to show you later. Back in the day, so this is the poor man's version of usability study, right? To get in the door when I work for the agency, this is a way to engage clients. Hey, we'll do a quick UX audit. And then if you think that you like what we're doing, give you a taste, then we could do the bigger engagement, right? It used to take me like for a website, let's say an e-commerce site, and normally we focus on the path to purchase, the main conversion point. So homepage, product listing page, product detail page, cart, checkout, that whole thing. So it's maybe like 6 pages. It would take me 20 to 40 hours, right? So for the whole thing. With this, 3 hours, and then I'll show you an agent that I built that would take minutes to actually get like the big pictures. Feature ideation, for the most part, this is again really quickly in the workshop that I run the foundation. We could just do that really quickly by chatting with the AI, right? This is like super easy, super fast, and again, you can have it go into like so many different directions to do research. Look at competitors, right? What are they doing? Look at look at what people are saying on Reddit. What are they saying? Within minutes, you can get these different ideas, and also just like, okay, just go look at other things and see like anything else I missed. So market like feature ideation part, and then after that, because AI definitely are good at coding and the development, you can also ask the AI to tell you like, okay, prioritize this based on level of effort. User flow, task flow. This is something that I would recommend starting slow when I do it, because this is something that AI could take over, and the next thing you know, you're like, what? This is not the experience that I want to design for for my users. But again, the brainstorming part, the big picture here is that AI is very good at getting us from 0 to, let's say, 60, 70%. The blank canvas problem is no longer an issue now. Uh, Beyond that is something that the human still needs to get involved, especially as designers, because designers are the ones who are supposed to make decisions. If you think about it, design is about making series of decisions. So we don't want it to actually just take over, because the tendency of human brain is to be lazy. We tend to just like, okay, it looks good, and move on. Wireframing, this is something that is interesting that I didn't expect AI could do really well, but actually there are tools like, for example, Claude again, it could visualize things, and it could actually, and will be uh, also mentioned in the prototyping part, because it can create, it could also create prototypes that are already useful that we can test for the user tester. So again, going back to my initial point earlier, how a lot of products will be created and most of them probably will be crap. We can help, right? We can actually get faster. That it's no longer an issue to sell user testing, because a lot of times people use not having resources, not having time as an excuse to not do user testing, right? Because like, oh, we don't have the time to do this. We don't have the dev bandwidth to do this. Well, we don't need dev now. We can just prototype it quickly. Even Claude can do it. Technical requirement documents, this is so quickly. Now, like once you have done everything, you can just ask the thing to document it. And then potentially you can have another AI to review the document and ask questions. You can have them go back and forth. And it's so much faster. And this is one of those things that I think could free us up as the product managers to do and to think about the strategic stuff, the things that actually would deliver value for our users. Prototyping, interaction design. This is, I mentioned this earlier, this is where Figma could potentially become obsolete, because from wireframing, you can quickly just ask the tool to, okay, now prototype it, make it interactive, turn it into HTML, and you can already test it. And also tonight at the Learn and Share, I'm going to share a demo of a new tool that could do UI design with this chatting thing. Because like up to this point, typically, like what I said, like I think up to like 70, 80% is pretty good. Like with tool like Bold or Lovable, it's pretty good. But then refinement is an issue. This I like to talk about how being a pixel pusher is actually a skill that AI can't do. And that's something that designers, UI designers, are really good at, that, and not in a demeaning way, but in a way that's like it's craftsmanship. It's a higher level of polish. And this the UI the place of Figma is becoming less and less important in that, because now we can have these different AI tools to help us with that. UX content creation, for a lot of you who have played around with, let's say, ChatGPT for writing and whatnot, this should be something that is pretty evident. And also, again, like I mentioned earlier, the benefit of having these different tools doing research for us, like really deep research, it's going to make this better too. Usability testing, very similar to user interview earlier, the prep, and then the analysis. and also in this case, the prototyping, right? So all those things could actually benefit from the AI assisted process. Running it though, I probably wouldn't use this, but again, like this is something that potentially a better AI tool could do, and usability testing is probably a better candidate for using AI as opposed to a user interview because it's more directed experience. Accessibility audits and compliance, this is something that AI could definitely help. It's huge because up to now, mostly we're only involved in helping the contrast level, font size, those things, the visual side of things, right? But there are a lot more that we could do to actually make a website more or an app more accessible. And this is going to be really interesting also as we get into the world of multimodal, where it's not just about like the GUI, about the font, about the visual elements, but we're getting more and more, I guess, accustomed to using voice, and voice is getting really good at that, as using like pictures as input and output. So now, going to talk about why this is important. Like, what does that mean for us? Design fundamentals is becoming super important now. It's super important to go deeper, not to know less, but to actually know more, to go deeper into what we know as the fundamentals, because AI excels at execution, but not strategy, right? It can take us somewhere really fast, but it doesn't know where it's going. In fact, this morning I was just reading something interesting from TechCrunch, how the reporter interviewed one of the AI founders talking about AGI, which doesn't matter. But the biggest point is that it's saying that up until now, LLMs are super smart at giving us the answers, but they haven't not been able to ask good questions or interesting questions. And I thought that was a really interesting thing, because if you think about it, a lot of creativity is not just mishmashing things. That's why it feels like it's not satisfying to see like AI just like stealing images and creating something new, right? Because it's like there's got to be more than that, and that's very human. Asking questions leads to creativity, and that is fueled by imagination. And so we need to actually get to become, I guess, more human in a way, because our all these things, the questioning, the judgment, becoming very important. So human judgment remains essential for quality. Strong foundation enables better AI direction. So we need to understand like what are we doing, like what is design principles that to guide the effective evaluation of AI outputs. So strengthening the foundation, the fundamentals, is becoming more important. And core competencies to develop: strategic thinking, problem framing. So that's more important now than ever, because understanding the problem would allow us to actually strategically figure out where are we going, where do we want to take this. So we need to define that really well. And as we do that, we need to apply the design principles and accessibility, right? Critical evaluation along the way to understand, is the output good enough? And also the ability to identify when is AI appropriate to use, or when we need to intervene, when do we need to get involved. So UX professionals who master both design fundamentals and AI tools will become invaluable, will dominate. Because as you can see, this is like changing the way we think, changing the way we work. The empowered designers can produce like 3 to 5 times more output, sometimes even more, without losing the quality. So for collaboration with AI, the key principles are: be specific about your deliverables and constraints. So the context is very important, and giving an example is very important. Use frameworks. So this is something that I cover in the workshop, like the role, context, task, format. Putting those 4 components together would potentially, well, normally would give you better output from the LLM, from the AI. Chain of thought for complex problems. So chunk it, not just like giving blah, one big instruction, but slowly give the instruction, and then from there evaluate, give the next one. So if you needed to pivot, you can. So essentially, it's kind of like working with a human being. You need to know. You need to give them like what do they the information, give them the context, and then also check their understanding along the way. Some of the UX specific techniques include user personas in prompts, so that's the role, right? And but also define the persona. This is something that we should be really good at because we think about the user all the time. Reference, design system, or brand guidelines, give it reference, right? Use example, so that's related to reference, but the reference before this was mainly like knowledge-based kind of thing, reference. This one like example from previously. So this is how that brand guideline is applied here. This is how it's applied on this page, the design system. And then if it's not getting it, iterate based on the output. And combine the AI output with human refinement. Sometimes you need to take the output from the AI, refine it, and teach the AI. This is what I was thinking. Now do more of this. Strategic UX activity distribution, human versus AI. So these are the different things that you want to start with or allow the AI to do, and these are the things that you want to retain as a human, right? So for the AI side, initial content generation, like a draft of all kinds of things, like a draft of email, a draft of interview script, a draft of wireframe, things like that. AI is amazing at that. Data analysis, pattern recognition, like analyzing again, like user study or survey results, those things is very good at. Variation, creation, exploration. This is very similar to the idea content generation, but you can just like generate a bunch of variations very quickly. Now, the problem with this potentially is the evaluation. So this is why on the right side, you'll see that. Documentation and standardization, that's AI is very good at that. First draft creation, so that's the blank canvas issue is gone. Routine evaluation against standards. So processes that just like lower level, right? For the human side, we want to think strategically, defining the problem, who has the problem. This is like something that AI is pretty bad at. And understanding on a deeper level with empathy, emotional understanding. Giving direction creatively, brand alignment, because AI now has vision, but it doesn't have taste, right? You could teach it to have taste, potentially, but the designers in us, I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to this, the designers. I remember this back in college in my graphic design course. My professor said that, yeah, you just keep going until you feel that, yeah, like, yeah, you feel that, AI can't feel that, right? Because AI doesn't know what that's like. It's a human experience. That stays, and you can teach it though. You can develop it, especially if it's getting into like the more lower level execution, like brand guidelines or like design system pattern stuff. AI is very good at that. Final quality control and approval. So this is along the way. You want to make sure that you're checking the quality. Stakeholder communication. This is something that definitely should not be delegated to AI because you don't want your stakeholders to feel like they're not valued by you. And then, of course, ethical decision making. We don't want AI to make decisions on that, on like important stuff. Measuring success. So this is very important, right? So this is how we know when we're actually making progress or not, because like a lot of us probably have to sell to our bosses the AI tools or to our clients if we're using AI tools. And also for your own evaluation, whether you should use this tool or that tool, should you use that tool at all or not. So the left is quantitative, right? Quantitative metrics, time to completion. This is the very basic, right? Is it much faster? The output volume, which is similar to that. Is it like more volume? Iteration cycle, is it faster to iterate? Error reduction, is this less revision? Is it more error or less error? So essentially, the big thing is cost savings and the efficiency gains. Qualitative metrics, stakeholder satisfaction score, right? So it's kind of like the NPS for stakeholders. Team creativity and innovation measures. Is the team becoming more creative, can explore more, can do more? Design system consistency, knowledge retention, documentation quality. So again, quality, quality, quality. And of course, the designer's job satisfaction and engagement. The thinking here is that if we can do more strategic stuff, we can serve our customers more, we can serve our users more, then theoretically we'll become more engaged and happier in our jobs, right? Now I'm going to share the UX audit agent that I created. So just a little bit of context. Like I talked about earlier, back in my agency days, I used to do like UX audit of a website to just tease them, to show them, hey, this is what you can do to improve your conversion, right? And an agent now could do that based on knowledge base that I gave it, and I'll narrate this process along the way so you can get a sense of what that looks like. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to share another screen. Again, if you have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And for this demo, to make this more interesting, actually, can I get a website from anyone that they would like to optimize? Can drop it in the chat. Anyone have any website? It doesn't have to be e-commerce, could be anything, any website that you want to optimize for the conversion, or any ideas. Flash.org. Okay, so which one that we want to do? I'm just gonna open. Okay, so I have this, this, and this. Okay, so let's get the audience participation. 1, 2, 3. Drop in the chat which one that you want to have optimized for this. 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, you don't see them. Do you not see my screen? Yes, no? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I share my screen. Let me do again. I'm glad that somebody brought that up. Okay, so can you see okay now? Yes, no? Thumbs up? Yes? Okay. So I guess 3 it is. So this one, right? You can take the URL. So this is, wait, where was it? Let's say conversion. Here it is. Okay, so this is the agent in the format of a chatbot, and it's asking for the URL. So behind the scene, what just happened is that this agent has a tool to do web browsing. So he went to that website, tried to understand what it's about, and based on that, it identified these are the conversion events. Here are some additional conversion events like potential to contact the agency and some more, right? Consultation, signing newsletter, filling out contact form. So which one do we want to optimize? Contact agency for consultation, signing up newsletter, or 1, 2, or 3? Okay, let's do 1. Okay, so the conversion flow looks like, so identify that, right? The conversion path is homepage to service page, consultation request form, and then thank you page. And it also identified the friction point. The consultation request form may be lengthy, which would deter users from completing it. Navigation, user might find it difficult to locate consultation request option. And then you will analyze the individual pages. Sometimes it does this. This is like the AI, like getting a little bit too eager, doing it twice. You see that it's identifying that again, and then it's showing like, okay, so you can also see that these are the things could be improved. And then it went on to go to different, on the page level, and audit that. The content is this, the strength is this, weakness is this, content order, layout, visual hierarchy. So what happened in the background when I set it up, and by the way, I didn't set this up using any coding whatsoever. It's all just natural language prompting, right? Instruction prompt, that's what it's called. So a massive prompt essentially that details how the agent is supposed to do this. On top of that, there's the knowledge base, which are like the different guidelines. And as part of this audit, for example, for when you're looking at a page, I gave it the instruction to look at the content, identify strength and weakness, the content order, strength and weakness, and so on, right? Because these are the things that I normally look at. And then it goes to the service overview. Again, the pages are based on these. And then consultation request page. And then summarize it. And then it created this priority matrix on the impact and the development effort to give to the client. So this is essentially how we could recommend, okay, start with make the main CTA on the homepage, and then this, and then this. This is something that would have taken me hours to do. And now within minutes, we got something that we could show. Obviously, this is something that I would check again, go to the website and double check, but it's a really amazing starting point, right? And then here you can see, this is the document that it used, the knowledge base, for the analysis, for the evaluation. So then you can actually chat with it, like, do you think there are more pressing usability issues in the services page? So what's cool about this is that because it can actually use the tool of browsing the web and vision, so it could actually go there, go to the website and check again. And it comes back with these other things. So that is the demo, and I'm going to go back to the presentation now. We're almost done. Okay, sharing my screen again. Okay, yes, you can see my screen. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Chloe. So, takeaways. AI is a multiplier for your team, for you, but not a replacement. Okay. And that's what we want anyways. We don't want to be replaced by the machine. And no one wants that because everybody's going to suffer. Start with the high volume, low risk activities. That's why I started with the UX audit. That's like very, very tedious thing, and it's repetitive. Something like that is a good candidate for starting to implement the AI. Measure impact with clear metrics. The easiest one is just the time spent. And also you can also do like the more qualitative. I use quotes because if you feel like using that AI is like a hassle, it's like, oh, I don't feel like doing that again, then that's not a good fit. Just drop it. Man, build team capabilities progressively, so start small, right? Focus on strategic value while AI handles the execution. Again, strategic is your domain, AI execution. Now, to get started, week one, start small, tool experimentation with one UX task. Month one, process integration with 2, 3 core activities. Again, low-hanging fruits. By month three, hopefully workflow optimization and train your team. 6, advanced application, custom tools. By year one, you're amazing. Full integration. So to accelerate your journey, these are different things that the UX support group and my company are offering. So I'm launching the first AI-powered UX course. Next cohort starts at May 6th. We go from the foundation all the way to creating an agent like what you saw, vibe coding, very advanced. So it's like a 6-week course designed for working professionals. So the commitment level is about 5 to 7 hours a week. And with projects, so the main thing there is that it's very practical, hands-on, and the gap that I'm hoping to fill with this course is that I'm seeing that a lot of courses offer this kind of thing, but more on a theoretical level. I want this to be very, very relevant to us and very practical. So from day one, you can already apply it. And I'm getting feedback. I'm designing this based on events like this and events like the Learn and Share and the workshops. So it's evolving continuously. So that's that. And we also have the different workshops and events. You can find these from the meetup group. I have the link down earlier, but if you join us, then you know how to find that. And then these are the different services they offer for individuals, coaching, consulting, for enterprise training and whatnot. And that's the end of it. This is my LinkedIn if you want to connect with me. And this is the link to the workshop. I'm in the events and workshop on Meetup. And now I'm going to get to the questions. Let's see. Okay, Carissa, I think she already left, but she asked, is the Learn and Share going to be recorded? No, it won't be. So that's like an event this evening, New York time. Let's see a screen. This is cool. Okay, so Chloe, you want to just ask it since you're still around?
Yeah, sure. I was just curious, with that quick audit you did, what AI tool you were using. I missed that.
So it's called DeFi, Do It For You. So it stands for that. I'll drop it in the chat. DIFYAI.ai.
Okay.
And then Shadi, how could we use a tool like this for analysis on a site that's behind a password? So that's a tricky part. Most likely you'll need something more advanced than that. If it's behind a password or they have like very advanced, not advanced, like a way to block robots like LinkedIn, right? That prevents scraping. Most likely you'll need something like Manus, which is like a more like using computer, so faking human. Another way to do that potentially is to just have some kind of recording and have the AI analyze the recording, the video. So that's how you do that.
Recording. That's a great option. Thank you.
And there is a tool from Google called Notebook LM. It can actually watch videos. So that is an amazing tool to use. And potentially for, let's say, usability tests or user interviews, right? If you want to just use the video recording and just for sentiment analysis kind of thing, you could do that, right? Basically, based on the facial expression, what are they talking about? So that's the kind of thing that AI can actually help us elevate the analysis beyond just like, okay, where did they get stuck or what's the problem there? Any other questions?
I'm curious, so after, you're saying when you're starting to onboard this into your design process,
Mhm.
aside from the audit, what would be like number two, like to go to? What would be your number two idea for onboarding onto the design process with AI?
Um, I'm trying to recall my process of how I
Yeah.
got to this. I think the best way to think about this is to almost treat it like an intern or a coworker that you bounce ideas with,
Mm,
so
yeah.
that you start finding opportunities in a more, I guess, practical way, right? It's good at coming up with ideas, it's good at analyzing things. Then, oh, let's try this, let's try that. So I think the next thing I did was that affinity mapping. So one day I just had like a bunch of posters. I'm like, oh, I hate this, right? And then I went to like, it was on FigJam actually, and I was like, oh, Figma has AI and it's trash. So then I just took a picture of the FigJam, basically the fake post-it, and gave it to Claude, and Claude analyzed it right there. So I was like, oh, that was cool. And that kind of thing made me want to try different things, right? More and more and more.
Mm.
But I think the biggest thing that would be beneficial for us as UX practitioner is also to experience it as the user, right? To understand its capability, because the interface is also evolving quickly. I don't know if you guys have played around with Grok or Perplexity app. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. The other day I was just trying to figure out, okay, so where do I go with this? I don't want to, there's like so much going on, right? So I just wanted to have like some kind of North Star. And Grok has this voice thing, and it's also got the feature, the mode for storytelling. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So then I'm like, okay, so I wanted to help me create a vision for myself, and storytelling is amazing with that. So I just gave it the parameters, tell me a story of what the future may look like. And that could be useful also for example, like it's helping your team members empathize with the user, because stories are great for that. And with that, it's like basically back and forth with voice. I don't know if that I answer your question, Chloe. But
No, it totally did. Yeah, thank you so much.
um, so Alicia asked, thank you so much. Did you mention where this recording would be available? Connect with me and I'll let you know. I haven't decided yet. So if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, just QR code me and then we'll talk and I'll send you this. Have you tried Reloom comments? I've tried it on a very surface level, to be honest, Victor. So Reloom, for those who are not familiar, um, it's pretty crazy. You can just with one prompt, it could create the sitemap and then wireframe, and it could like design it supposedly. The problem with this kind of tool though, oh, and also you can export it to like Webflow directly. It seems magical, but the problem that I have with a lot of the one prompt thing is that again, it's like moving too fast. I don't know where it's taking me, right? But the uh the quality seems to be pretty good, like because it's based on best practice. So depending on what you're building, if you're building something that's quite common, like for example, a brochureware, right? Brochure site, or I don't know, like something that's super common or kind of basic, then you can just use that as very quick. And especially if it's trying to figure out, if you're trying to figure out what to include on the page, the order, that's something that the AI could just look for like best practices patterns and help you do that. So the one tool that I've been playing around with is this that I'm gonna demo tonight is called OnLook. And it's a desktop app and it connects to Cursor and it allows us to actually select and the different components, the different elements on the page. And then you can just prompt it to make changes to that, as opposed to having to describe all these different things. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
So you said you know after you do that audit, like you go back to the site to kind of check for
Mhm.
yourself. Like
Yep.
I'm curious, like how accurate are is the audit from the AI tool versus like what you find there, like what is the percentage there, like how kind
I
of
would
to gauge the accuracy of the tools.
so I would say 90% accurate. So it's very good in the sense that it's good enough for me to keep using it, to keep going back. But the danger is that because it's that accurate, then it could make me feel lazy and not check. So that's the thing and then of course in my mind, I'm like, oh, how can I be even lazier? So I'm gonna create another agent to check the agent's work.
Yeah, that's kind of my question too, because like if it's an industry that's you need to rely on accuracy a lot, especially when you're like working with clients, like that's what I was trying to gauge, like because that sounds like then you have to like kind of you're doing it twice almost in a way, you know what I mean?
Yes and no, because it's the same as in like if I had like a designer working for me or somebody working for me, I kind of have to check that person's work if I'm about to go to a client meeting, right? It's the same as working with humans make error too.
Got it. That's a good way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's the best way to think about this different AI thing is almost like treating them like a coworker or an intern. Oh, there you go. Treat like an intern. That's right, Shadi. Treat him like intern. Super eager, super smart intern, but the intern doesn't have your experience level or your foresight. So you still need to check the work. And even if you're working with somebody super good, if the meeting is super important, you probably want to check it again.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, and also that's the other thing. Like with this, I just use the word agent like willy-nilly. For those of you who are not familiar, agent simply is like that intern metaphor. So you give the AI a little bit more agency or authority to make decisions. That's the difference. So assistant is like ChatGPT or whatever, just you ask them to do something, it come back, okay, here's something, here's something. With agent, it actually has some agency. It makes some lower level decisions. So in some cases, when it becomes like for example, with that agent that I show you guys, right? It didn't have to ask me, oh, which guideline should I use, right? Which tool should I use? It's not asking, it just like ran and then gave me that. So I could go to lunch and come back and it's done, right? So that's the way I think about this. Like agents is like you can go to lunch, you come back, it's done, but you still need to check it. What do you see on the horizon with AI and UX product design? I think the biggest thing really is that, like what I mentioned earlier, we're gonna be more essential, but we have to actually show that we're providing value though, right? Because these products, like the products that will be done through with like these different tools like Reloom, Lovable, there's so many of these ones. Like with one or two prompts, you can create something. A lot of them gonna be garbage because they don't understand the users. They don't even care about the user. Just like deploy to market quickly. Like the other day, there was this guy who complained about how he posted initially about vibe coding, right? This guy's not a programmer. He did vibe coding. For those of you who are not familiar with that, vibe coding is like when uh, you're building something with the coding agent, so the agent is actually coding for you, and you don't touch the code, you're just vibing with the agent, essentially, just talking to it. Some of them actually use voice also. So this guy built an entire product and deploy it and brag about it. And of course, a lot of the trolls, the software engineers, got pissed off and hacked his system. And yeah, I mean, like, what do you think? If you're building it with that and you don't know what's going on underneath, the quality is not gonna be great. It's not gonna be secure. So it got hacked easily, the database crashed, and then he was like bitter and like, I'm not sharing anything again with this community ever. Like, but anyways, to answer your question, Victor, that kind of thing will need our help, right? Because the main thing that this group of professionals that we are very good at is not necessarily the technology part of things, but more like the human, but also bridging the human to the technology. And human beings, it's just like something that we're gonna have to be I guess like more knowledgeable and more I guess keep going deeper and asking like what do people want, what do they need, how do they behave, because it's not rational. I don't know if that answers your question, but I do think that we're gonna be more needed. But the other big thing is that the roles might be, and I think it's already happening, will be merging. What I'm saying is that we're not just responsible for UX, UI, it's going to be called something else maybe. So we need the UX, the product management, the business side of things, and also some development, right? And there is no excuse now not to learn some of these basic things. And one thing that somebody told me the other day that's really I think insightful is that we don't need to know how to write code, but we need to know how to read code. Yeah, so it's the same thing as in like you don't need to know like how to wire an entire building, but you need to know how the electricity in your apartment works so you don't get killed when you're installing something. Any other last question before we end this? No? All right, thanks everyone, and hopefully you'll see you again soon. And let's connect. All right, take care, guys.